Hello and welcome. I am super excited to be joined today by my friend, the lovely and inspiring Melissa Lowe. Hi, Melissa, how are you?
Roz, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about excuses, why we make them and what we can do about them. Little while you wrote a really cool article on your Facebook page, I think it was, about excuses. And I read that and it totally kind of stuck with me. And I started looking at some of the excuses I was making in my life and making some changes. And so I'm really stoked to be chatting with you further about that today. But first, I'm going to stop talking and I'll let you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. And if you could just tell us a little bit as well about your journey to get to where you are today and what kind of happened in your life to make you want to change.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm a mum of three. I've got a 12-year-old, 8-year-old, and 6-year-old, and married to Builder Hubby, I call him. And we live in a rural village in North Auckland. And yeah, I'm the owner of the Thrive Guide, and I help men and women who want to get their health and wellness under control. And basically, our journey started a few years ago, which pretty much kicked off when my husband couldn't poo anymore.
Oh,
He got quite severely constipated. At the time, we thought we were quite healthy. You know, we kind of had, some veggies in our dinner and thought that was quite healthy. But we had to figure out what was going on with him. And as well as myself, I had quite severe PMS going on, amongst a whole host of other health issues we had going on, but we didn't really recognize. We just kind of thought they were normal. We were tired all the time. And yeah, so through that, we decided to really look at how we were eating and make some changes. And I worked with another integrative nutrition health coach to help us put some plans in place and really just clean up our eating, really. And it took some time and some big adjustments, especially with the kids. But it started to really make a difference. Like, we really sort of had more energy. My husband's reflux seemed to disappear. My skin really cleaned up. The PMS eased off a lot more. And it was when I sort of started realizing that, wow, food can have, some major impact on our health and well-being. And
yeah, absolutely. So that inspired you to help others and
yeah, totally. Really coming from a place of, it felt quite overwhelming and hard at
yeah.
first. And I just kept looking at all these other blogs and Facebook pages thinking, how do they do it? I don't have time. I can't figure this out. And once I did sort of get through it, and, we did get onto a whole food diet, it made me realize that a lot of people felt stuck like I had felt. And I promised myself I'd never forget that feeling of feeling like everyone else that was healthy was almost on this other island that I wanted to get to. I get there. Yeah, I want to get there, and I don't have the boat and the paddle, and how do I get there? So, and that is what inspired me, was to not to be already speaking to the super duper healthy people, but speaking to the people that want to change but are feeling stuck. Yeah,
which leads us perfectly onto what we've decided to chat about today, which is that feeling of being stuck. And it could be to do with what you're eating, or lifestyle things, or career things, or anything really, but it's really that feeling of being stuck and making up excuses in your own head as to why you can't move forward in your life. So is it true? Are these excuses really valid, or is there something else going on in our brain that we might not be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, they are valid and they are real. I suppose if we get into sort of, the reasons we have excuses, and there's a myriad of reasons we can have, but if I just touch on a few. So One of them might be just denial. You really just got your head buried in the sand. Things could be different. It seems too hard. So we just kind of go into this place of denial, which, I've been there. We've all been there. Another one could be is we actually don't know how to get to where we want to go. So we feel we don't really know what to do. So say, for example, on the career side, you want to go for a new job, but the people doing the interviewing are wanting the CV in a particular format, and you don't know how to do that. You don't know how to get the software or how to do it. So you just think, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do it. You don't even explore how to do it. You just don't, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to do it.
Finish there.
Yeah. Another one would be like just bad habits. We're just kind of stuck in that routine. This is how it's always been. I'm going to stay this way, and we just get stuck in that bad habit.
Yeah.
And then probably the big one, which is really a bit about what I wrote about and rings true for a lot of us, is kind of that ego thing and the fear of failure. Yeah, like feeling like feeling like if I do this thing, our ego is trying to keep us safe and telling us, things might go wrong. You might fail, or if you go and change this, other people aren't going to like it. You might be looked at differently, and so we start, having this chatter in our head holding us back, and so we stay sitting in those excuses because we don't want to challenge them, or we don't want to experience those things that might go wrong, that we perceive could go wrong, without actually knowing that they are going to go wrong, or that that is true.
Yeah, totally. So I guess around food it might be something like, if I try and change the way I'm eating, and maybe people want to perhaps lose a little bit of weight or something, just for example, and then maybe what if that doesn't work, then I'm going to feel like a failure. Or if I change how I eat, people are going to look at me weird, and I'm going to have all these social problems that I deal with. So it's so easy to make up excuses in our own head. And I guess what I'm hearing from you is that it's about recognizing that they are excuses and that they don't necessarily have to hold you back.
I mean, you touched on that there, and that would be one of the first things that we need to do, is recognize that we are having an excuse that is holding us back. It's really easy to get stuck in our self-beliefs and our story. Everyone carries around a backpack of stories that we tell ourselves just from experiences from when we were younger, things other people have told us, things we believe as we're growing up, our perceptions, what we see, and we assimilate all those to create our beliefs. And so, say for example, you had a mother that was afraid of driving. She didn't like driving. So you may grow up believing, driving the car's dangerous, which it kind of is, but, have this fear around it that isn't actually your own fear. It's a perceived fear that you've gotten from someone else. And so being able to look at that, like, is this just an excuse of my own I'm telling myself, or is it someone else's excuse that I'm taking on? So really being able to kind of connect into that and to recognize you're having an excuse, which is quite hard to do. Actually, I'm using an excuse, for this.
Absolutely. And getting down to the reasons why that might be, like you are worthy or deserving of looking after yourself, or So do you have some tips for sort of recognizing and getting around or managing those excuses a bit better?
Absolutely. So so of course that first one is recognizing you have an excuse. And then what are you kind of telling yourself around that? So one client I was working with recently, she said, I don't have time to exercise. I just don't have time. And it's like, okay.
That sounds familiar.
I can put my hand up to that one as well. Although I've managed to get over that excuse, which is good. But she kept telling herself this. And the thing with once we have an excuse is that we also have other people confirming it for us. So she would say to people, oh, I don't have time to exercise, I'm too busy. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I totally get it. You are really busy. Of course you don't have time. So it's confirming to her over and over that she has this excuse and that it's valid and it's real for her. And of course it's real. She doesn't have time,
Yeah.
So when it comes to kind of challenging that, one of the first things I'd be asking, so if we carry on with this client's example, is, do you want to do this thing? So do you want to actually exercise?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. If I had time, I do want to exercise, but I don't have time. So okay, so you've got a desire there for something, but you've got this kind of, circle of excuses around it. So recognizing, like, do you want to actually do this thing? Then kind of getting into the why do you want to do it, so for example, why do you want to exercise? And she's like, well, because it's good for you, and so I can be healthy, which is great. That's a great reason, then we all have that reason. But if that was all we needed to do something, we'd all be doing all these amazing things for ourselves. So it's about really getting down into the why, and that's working with people. I drill down right into why. Why do you want this? And keep going down until we get to the nitty gritty of it. And for her, it was, she just felt really bummed out when her kids wanted her to do things and run around and stuff. And she just felt tired and that she didn't have the energy and didn't feel fit enough. And also some stuff going on with her husband. She felt like kind of the connection with them, the zing had gone a bit. She was wanting to feel a bit more desired by him, feel a bit hot for her hubby.
Yeah.
So when we kind of drill down into that why, that's going to be more of her driver, not just because it's good for me, but it's because I want to be able to connect with my kids when we're doing physical stuff. I want to feel more of a connection with my husband. So that can become a good way of getting behind the excuses and driving you more towards what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, totally. To the tangible thing, the reward at the end of it, what you're going to get, not just, oh, I think I should be fitter, which is not really much of a motivation, is it?
No. So tying it to an outcome, like what is this outcome I'm really wanting from this, and that becomes more of something you're going to work with. And then, so then with her, we looked at, right, the next step, or if you've got this excuse, to look at, like, if you had to do it, like, there's no question out of, about it. You actually had to do this thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We keep going with this client. Like, you absolutely had to do exercise. When would you do it? And it was a for her. And she was like, well, I could only do it in the morning. I'd have to get up early. Okay. So looking at that, making it, it's something that you have to do, and how are you going to fit it in? Yeah, like, if I look, say, for me, for like cleaning the windows in my house is not a priority, because I clean them and then half an hour later, my kids' hands are all over them, or they're mushing their faces up against them, and they're disgusting again. And I always tell myself, and I don't have time. I don't have time to clean the windows. But when Christmas Day, everyone was coming to my house for Christmas Day, I made time to clean the windows. Yeah. Because it became a priority for me that I wanted people to think I had nice clean windows. Yes. To be able to see outside. So, we do make time for things that we have a priority over. So it is one of those things. But also looking at, with your excuses, stop me if you have more questions as well, but looking at, our excuses are there because they're a benefit. They do benefit us. There's good things, or else we wouldn't have them, so there's reasons that we have them. So say for her, with the exercise in the morning, because I knew as soon as it was, I could exercise in the morning, but It was that I'm going to have to, I'll be tired because I'll have to get up too early. It's getting into winter. It's going to be a bit cold. I like to sleep in, which are all completely valid
Yeah.
excuses. We're all going, yes, absolutely agree with those. So then it's looking at, okay, out of those excuses, what are ones that you could live without? What are those benefits you can push aside? And she was like, well, I suppose the getting up cold in the morning thing isn't really an excuse, a decent excuse, because I'm going to start exercising anyway. So, within a few minutes, I'm going to feel warm again. So really looking at those benefits, like what could you kind of do away with, could you live without them? What of the excuses, of the benefits of the excuses do you want to keep? And then how can you meet them in another way? So for her, she was like, well, you know what, if I exercise, 3 mornings a week, then I can sleep in the other 2, or I can have a big sleep in the weekend, and kind of working it around that and looking,
into doable chunks.
like really, breaking it down. So it felt good enough for her to tackle those excuses and then coming.
That is just an awesome framework to kind of work through to get you past something like that seems to be blocking your way.
And another thing, and this would be probably the secret sauce to it, really, is like, how would you act and what would you say if you didn't have this excuse? So back to this client, if she said to herself, I always make time to exercise, I do have time to exercise, like totally spinning it around, if she says that to herself, then she's going to do it. It's going to give her more power to go and do this kind of thing. So kind of spinning it on her head, on its head, not her head.
Yeah, totally. And I suppose you could just pop in any kind of thing, like you could put in, instead of exercise, it might be eat more real food, or it might be, there's all sorts of things that you could pop into there, but it all works the same, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
The priority, you do actually find time, and other things that maybe not so important fall by the wayside.
Like Windows,
Windows and Netflix and Facebook.
Exactly. But being able to sort of say, I don't have time to make real food. Well, what if I changed that round and said, well, yes, I do actually, I do have time.
It's like really important to me.
Do it. And the reasons are X, Y, Z, and
I have a friend that talks about exercise, and I used to say to her, how do you get up so early and go running at like 5 in the morning? It was like beyond my kind of comprehension, but she just said, it's my medicine. And I was like, so true. She just has to do that. She knows that that's so good for her. And makes that a priority. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And just there might be a lot of people out there maybe watching who are just sort of starting out on their kind of health and wellness journey. Have you got any sort of tips for helpful hints for people just starting out?
Definitely. I guess the first thing is to not get too overwhelmed. Just to maybe start with one meal, kind of the easiest meal for us. The last thing for us to do was breakfast. Like that just felt really hard for us to transition over, for me to get my head around. So we started with easier things like lunches and snacks. And the other thing would be just to get some label awareness going on, like really start looking at your ingredients lists on what packet foods you are buying, or canned foods, jars, that kind of thing. Really just having a look what's in there, and is it real food, like freaky lab ingredients and things we're consuming on a daily basis without realizing.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. So you run a health coaching practice and you've got an awesome program that you're running at the moment. Could you just share with us a little bit about that, of how you work
Yeah.
with clients?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I at the moment have a 12-week program, and it's called Reset, Restore, Re-energize. So it's reset your weight, restore your health, and re-energize your body and mind. And yeah, it's
It
just
sounds nice. It sounds
yeah,
nice. Sounds good.
it's basically just for people that are feeling stuck. They're feeling tired, they're wanting to get their weight back on track. Maybe their hormones are out of whack, they're feeling stressed, or their sleep's not going so well. Wanting to get their family on board and just really, I guess, just clean up their diet and their lifestyle as well, and just really just start feeling alive again, I guess. Yeah. Kind of got into a bit of a funk, feeling stuck, and just need that boost and that support and accountability to kind of show them the way, and how to kind of
Awesome. And how would people get in contact with you?
Yep. So you can go via my website, which is www.thethriveguide.co.nz, or I'm also on Facebook, which is The Thrive Guide with Melissa Lowe, and the same on Instagram.
Oh, it was so good to catch up with you today. Always so nice talking with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Bye.